Welcome to the College Football Bros. I'm Michael Newman.
I'm Ryan Newman.
And I'm Trey Newman.
All right, we wanted to catch up on a couple of big news items that we missed last week. Of course, Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher were going at it. We had some people on Twitter and Instagram asking where our thoughts were on it, because, of course, everyone values our thoughts immensely, I'm sure. And also Jordan Addison choosing USC. Yeah. So we'll get to that one later, but let's start with the really big one, Jimbo and Saban. So Saban, at an event with boosters, claimed that Texas A&M bought every player in their class. Jimbo responded with one of the all-time great press conferences in college football history. He called Nick Saban a narcissist, strongly implied that Saban had cheated in the past, said A&M didn't buy one player. Oh, NIL collective? Oh, I don't know much about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So what were your guys' thoughts on the whole craziness?
Just a couple of babies going at it here. I mean, as a teacher, it reminds me of a conversation I'd have with a couple of students in class. It'd be like Billy comes up and he's like, it's not fair. David always cheats. He's a big meanie. And then, Billy or David would respond like, oh yeah, well, you're a bully. You're a bully. You're a big fat bully. It's like, well, let's both talk about this, guys. Is it really that big of a deal? Right? Can we come to a level playing field on this? Let's talk it out. Totally reminds me of that. It's not a good look for either of them. I mean, from Nick Saban's point of view, come on, man. Like, you've had the number one class for like 10 years, and you're telling me you didn't do anything that was a little bit shady? Come on now. Let's be real. And as far as Jimbo, like, hey, man, just do it with class. Like, be proud of the fact. Don't get all defensive about it. Be like, yeah, we got the number one class, so, I would just kind of let that speak for itself rather than just get all weird about it.
Yeah, I mean, Jimbo definitely came across as having some thin skin, just because we've seen him in the past too. There was he was referring to a message board poster named Sliced Bread, and he got defensive of that a little while back. And now with Nick Saban, like, I'm not saying what Saban said was appropriate or necessary. He should have said it better, 100%. I just think the media kind of ran with the quote of saying they bought their class, but I think there was a little bit of context necessary because he was talking to, like you said, Michael, some Alabama boosters. I think he wanted to kind of boost his own NIL collective at Bama amongst that group. So, but either way, Saban shouldn't have really maybe phrased it the way he did. But I agree with you, Ryan. Like, Jimbo should have maybe embraced and lauded A&M's NIL collective and the success that they were able to have. Another great class. I'm not on really either person's side here. Just could have been handled differently. And, Jimbo, he really better hope that he did everything proper, because he was doubling and tripling down how he's clean and referenced Saban not being. Like, that could really end up making him look bad down the road if it's not.
Yeah. I think both sides had said good things and bad things for sure. I think Saban, part of it, you're right, Trey, was probably part of that speech was trying to rally the troops in terms of maybe getting their NIL game up to par. I think Saban also is just kind of complaining. I don't think he likes the way that college football is going right now, and him having to potentially now have to adapt his recruiting style, which had worked so well, and now if he's having to kind of get in the bidding more, that's maybe not what he's super thrilled about. But I can also see why Jimbo's upset, because from his perspective, it's like, hey, I took advantage of these new rules better than you are, and now that you didn't get the number one class and I did, you're out there calling me. He didn't say the word cheater, but when you say that they bought every player and it's against the rules to buy recruits, then it's kind of calling him a cheater. So I could see why he was upset, but
it's
I think ultimately
Michael.
This all comes. It's despicable. No, I think the main problem here is not with either of them. It's just with the fact that we have a system where the rules are very unclear. There's hardly any rules, so there's kind of a push and pull between teams like A&M, who clearly decided we're going to push the envelope, or we don't know that, but there's been athletic articles about
You're
Texas
pushing a lot of
collective.
envelopes, bro.
That's true. That the collective has been, but where they're going to be more aggressive with NIL, and is that okay? I mean, Jimbo, and I'm sure the collective's lawyers have crossed every T, dotted every I, to where they think that they are complying with the rules. Where I'm sure Saban might disagree, but he's probably going to start playing that game even more aggressive now that he sees what you can get from it. So yeah, it's just kind of, we have a gray area in the rules, and so I think schools are struggling. How far do we push the envelope?
Yep.
All right. And also another thing about it is it's kind of hard to draw the distinction. Like if you're going to have NIL, if everyone's okay with players at the schools getting NIL deals, then it's almost, it's like I said, it's really hard to draw this distinction between, are you using it to induce recruits? Because if A&M, let's say all they said was, hey, here's what, defensive linemen are making at our school, or here's what former 5-star defensive linemen are making once they get here, is that inducing? If he doesn't sign anything, he doesn't explicitly
they're
say
not
it.
offering, right? They're just saying, they're showing some facts.
Yeah,
there's just no way to monitor. There's no way to monitor. It's good luck, NCAA, trying to be like, oh no, you can't do this. No, dude, listen, if they're not getting any part of the revenue, pretty much everything else goes. Like, sorry, this is just the way it is now. So just, get those NIL deals going, get the collectives going, and have at it, man.
Yep.
May the best bidder win.
Yeah, I have no problem. Good for A&M.
Yep, I agree. I give him credit. Okay, moving on to another conniving and deceitful head coach, Lincoln Riley, getting Jordan Addison from Pitt. Jordan Addison made his decision to go to USC. How big is this for the Trojans, Trey?
I mean, it's big, and it's big for college football. I think it's going to be awesome to see him line up with the other skill position talent that SC has. I mean, it is unfortunate on the Pitt side, lose a marquee player, but that's how it is today. I mean, but you got to think of it this way. Addison, he lost his quarterback Pickett to the draft. His offensive coordinator, Mark Whipple, left for another school to be offensive coordinator at Nebraska. His receivers coach left for another job for Texas. So, why couldn't he leave? He knows he could be a first-round pick next year. Why not give himself the best chance to stay at that level or even improve that? He chose USC with a great quarterback. You also have to remember he had a little bit of a friendship with Caleb Williams because they're both from the D.C. area. So good for Addison, good for SC.
Yeah, I think it's obviously big for USC. People have been talking about how great this USC offense is going to be, and I always thought, of course, it's going to be at least pretty good when you've got Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams, but I just wasn't quite as high as people because I'd been saying this offseason, there's a lot of talent in the receiving core, but there isn't anyone proven. Anyone proven to be
there's
like
no
a
Drake
top
London.
10. Not even close. There's not even anyone that at least we know is close to Drake London. Maybe not even a top 30 receiver in the country. Someone could emerge, but we had to wait and see. Now we don't have to wait and see. Jordan Addison is, easily a top 5 receiver in the country, has an argument to be the best. So pair him with Caleb Williams, Travis Dye. Now the only question mark on offense is the offensive line, but even that was better last year. So if they stay healthy, they shouldn't. The ceiling is still extremely high.
Oh, that's the main thing for the USC's offense is, can the O-line stay healthy? There's going to be quite a drop-off if they don't. But I think with the receiving core, it's just a perfect fit here for Addison because they needed a true number one, kind of like you were saying, Mike. They have good receivers, but they don't have a Jordan Addison. Terrell Bynum transferring in from Washington, good receiver. Mario Williams coming from OU, good receiver. Taj Washington coming back. Gary Bryant coming back. Those are good, all good receivers. I'm probably missing a couple of guys too. Didn't they get a transfer from Colorado?
Brendan Rice from Colorado, yeah.
Yeah, there it is, right? So good guys, but now they can be second, third options where those guys probably should be to be on a legit top 25 team. So it was a huge get. Could push them the top to over the top to win the South.
Yeah, well, there is no South anymore. So
there is.
Wow,
yeah.
right.
See ya.
That was more news we missed. The Pac-12 pretty much got rid of divisions. The schedule is still the same, but now it's just the top 2 teams in the conference make the conference title. So that was pretty surprising because everyone's talking about that. Every conference seems to be moving towards that model and getting rid of divisions, coming up with some sort of pods system. And Pac-12 was the first to pull the trigger immediately with
boom.
Yeah, it's weird now that their schedules are so unbalanced, but
yeah.
I wonder how the scheduling will be in the future.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But that'll do it for this episode of the College Football Bros, catching up on some news. We're going to have another episode on the feed, both audio podcast and on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe both places, and we'll talk to you soon.
You've been watching the College Football Bros. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube and in your podcast app for college football content all year round. For bonus episodes and access to our Discord chat, join our Patreon at patreon.com/collegefootballbros. Thanks for watching.